time for Dave 101.
Remember when the experiencers were the laughingstock of ufology? Well, technically they still are, and we don't like it. But we're about to see some serious hypocrisy going on in the UFO world. Why? Because some of the big names are now coming out as experiencers. It started with Jim Semivan. Now, this is a gentleman who claims that him and his wife both had an encounter with alien beings, small little dudes with big gray heads and big black eyes in their bedroom. Most recently, Semivan has been involved with the To the Stars Academy and To the Stars Inc. as a co-founder with Tom DeLonge. And, this is a man who's been in a lot of black operation subjects over his years. Let's see here. He was Senior Intelligence Service for the U.S. government from 1982 to December 2007. He's worked with Robert Bigelow. He's worked with NIDS and other interesting people like John Alexander, Bruce Maccabee, Hal Puthoff. And he knows a lot about what's going on in the UFO world. But a couple months ago, on a podcast, he comes out and says, I'm an experiencer. Now, just this week, Stanford professor Gary Nolan, who I believe is the face of the franchise, taking over from Lou Elizondo in this whole disclosure confirmation movement. He came out in an interview with Ross Coulthart, Australia's journalist who's very much covering this field, and stated that when he was a kid, he believes he had alien encounters. He didn't believe it, thought they were dreams, until 20 years later, he's in a library and he sees Whitley Strieber's communion book with the alien on the cover. He said it scared him so much that he dropped the book. And then it's when he knew the encounters were real. The encounters still continue. What would happen if Luis Elizondo or Chris Mellon came out as experiencers publicly? It's most likely that Elizondo is, considering his positions within the government. Tracking down UFOs for ATIP, chasing around UFOs for Space Force now. I would say Elizondo is a major contactee. We know he's into remote viewing. We know he's into the woo. Why not a contactee? I believe he is, even though he will never mention it. And Chris Mellon, the business side of UFOs and the government side of UFOs, a man who never wears a shirt that isn't pressed, literally always looking good. What's his agenda? Is he an experiencer too? Or does he just want to believe? I believe he's an experiencer. Do I have proof? Absolutely not. But what's your agenda, Mr. Mellon? Are you an experiencer or not? I'm telling you right now that I believe we are going to see more and more of these bigger names coming out as experiencers as the months and the next couple years stroll on by. And what's the significance of this? Well, there's a couple roads we could go down. Either this is the new phase of ufology where they are going to finally recognize the experiencer. Rather interesting, considering after the last 40 years where experiencers were cut down, put down by everybody from their family, friends, government officials, doctors, lawyers. to now being reality. How many court cases do you think, sidebar here, pun intended, how many court cases do you think people losing their jobs, their careers, their husbands, or their children, how many court cases are we going to see be reopened if we learn that experiencers are telling the truth? But the idea behind it all is this. For years, ufology has tried to sway away from people's experiences. It's tried to push the limits on saying, no, we don't deal in that kind of stuff. Why not? I was told the public isn't ready. Still don't think they are. Not the UFO public, but the mainstream public. I don't care what anybody says. They are not ready. I was just at a wedding this past weekend for my nephew. He looked great. His bride was gorgeous. And as I studied that room, I could tell with the people who were religious there, the people who were professional there, and those who just had too many beers on the day to celebrate. Not one of them that I saw would be ready for any ET contact. They wouldn't. Too into their own lives. Just like walking down New York's Manhattan. You're just a dust in the wind. That's all you are. With experiencers, though, we want to be heard. We need to be heard. We feel that we got to stand on top of Mount Everest and blast it all over the world. I've got aliens. That's the truth. And we want people to believe us. We need people to believe us. We feel that we have to have this confirmation within ourselves that our anecdotal evidence is somehow of value because it traumatized us and changed our lives. Whether it was for the good or for the bad. And for years, experiencers have been harassed and poked at, prodded, made fun of, told they're not believable stories, told it was swamp gas. Maybe it was your kid waking up in the middle of the night and poking you on the forehead, saying, Mommy, I need a glass of milk. That's not the case. So the question is, on the experiential side at least, why are Jim Semivan and Gary Nolan getting a free pass while the rest of the experiencers are like, we don't need this. We don't need this from you. Yet here we, the big names, the faces of the franchise, get a free pass, while Joe and Jim Sixpack, who work their tails off, get nothing. Nothing for their stories. Nothing for their recognition. People calling them liars, cowards, psychopaths. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense why we're even going down that road. What do experiencers have to do with disclosure? Well, you know a lot. I know a lot. They, as in the agencies, know a lot. But do they really? Do they really care about what's going on? Because they know people are going to, no matter what, respect those individuals who have made a name for themselves. That's why I find it tough to believe that Lou Elizondo hasn't come out yet as an experiencer. I don't think it would hurt him at all. From what I heard from backstory rumors, that everybody who is involved in these types of programs in the United States are experiencers of the phenomena. Yet they hide it because they don't want elected officials to think that they are nuts and potentially cut funding. This is why, in order to create a space force, which, let's face it, it's not for China or Russia, it's for the aliens. My belief only. That they needed to get funding for it. They needed to be able to make it work. So that's what they did. They brought in the evil aliens who are flying into our airspaces, not knocking down any jets, not firing any laser beam type weapons, nothing. Maybe teasing a little bit. Nothing hostile, though. But damn it, did it get more budgetary strength for the world's largest spender in defense already. And their budget is going up. I heard a statistic today that I believe 64 or 65% of all tax dollars collected in the United States go towards the defense budget. I think the next country below that is less than 40%, and that would be China. Interesting numbers. Mathematics do not lie. But the experiencers, getting back on topic, we need to be able to have a voice. We need to figure out what are these downloads. We need to figure out why us. Why am I a hybrid parent? What happens to me when I'm on the craft? Why does my head sore when I get back home? Why is all this going on? And yet others, like Gary Nolan, like Jim Semivan, or if Lou Elizondo ever comes out as an experiencer, and I hope you do, Lou, if you're listening to this, I hope you do. They won't get it the way we will. Well, Elizondo might. Gary Nolan won't. Too many people respect him. Too many people respect Chris Mellon. Too many people respect Jim Semivan. That is why they will get away with it. Elizondo will have a tougher time. But we're not so nuts after all, are we, public? If we say, you got aliens. I hope that they recognize that the phenomena is coming. It is here. It is real. We cannot control it. We cannot know when it's going to show up, pick us up, take us on a date, shove a couple of tacos down our throats, and then have their way with us. For the 8% of the unlucky ones. The rest of us 92%ers, they're just going to blank our minds, play a game of bingo, take some terrible TikTok videos, embarrassing Instagram shots, drop us off in bed wearing somebody else's clothes, and that is their humor. And I think it's hilarious. What I want to see, though, is I want to see more government officials come out. I want to see more Lou Elizondos out there come out and say, this is what I summoned the other morning while sitting in my bathrobe, having my morning coffee on the deck. And I summoned this in after meditation. I want to see people like Sean Cahill open up, go public with his experiences. Because if others are, others now can follow. The cat is out of the bag. Doesn't matter what part of the agenda you are a part of. What matters now is that you tell your story. And we need people to tell the stories. There are hundreds of thousands of experiencers out there who need to tell their stories. We got to start supporting them. Because if you're not supporting the regular experiencer who may not be a big name, you can't support Gary Nolan, you can't support Jim Semivan, and you most certainly cannot support Lou Elizondo. And that is your all-round Dave 101. Leave me a comment below if you're on YouTube. Let me know what you think. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell on our channel.